just wanted to kind of touch base. We have a lot of information tonight. We have a kind of a workshop style that we'll do an opening and kind of walk through what we have done. We met with you in November and we were here for the first time essentially for this project back in August of 22. So we just kind of want to really allow people to see what the teams have been working on, the data collection, what it kind of has worked out. We shared a little bit of that with the board, 6 months ago or more, sorry, and just sort of walk through. Ultimately, the data does point, the costs kind of point to this section between Pine Mill Roads and north of Tanglewood that we would like to target. I'm hoping that comes across and we articulate it really well tonight. The message really hasn't changed since the last time. We're hoping that at the conclusion of this that we get some type of active support for this decision, and then we can move right into what we call our refined alternatives. We have kind of the impacts. We understand really what the proposed improvements that we have within the section of roadways. We did look at the entire corridor because we wanted to make sure that at least the public comment was received, that we thought about it, and that we put some engineering thought to it. That was the whole goal. And then ultimately kind of show people that we recognize what you told us, the data shows it, that the need is in that, in that segment 2 that I referred to. That way, again, people know. And then I think Nick has been great as we've sort of been working through it. We'd love you to drive a project through the 10-year plan for the 113 because we know that there's a lot of desire to do something and improve it. What we found is the improvements are much, much greater. They don't fit within the project budget, and to do an actual fix, which you'll get a show of it, of really changing the location of the current intersection and putting it to a location that may require additional access, more right-of-way, a bridge structure is probably the right long-term solution, and would be a great project for a 10-year plan as opposed to using this plan. So we've got some different fixes, and then we've identified some resources. We wouldn't walk through that tonight, but we certainly, if we get the right message from the community tonight, that we can move this project forward. I got a schedule. I think we can do it. I think the project is not only the right size, it's larger than we have for budget, but it is the right size that we can do the environmental permitting and we can get into the final design and right of way and do the public hearing while we look for some additional funds. There are funds available for roadway reconstruction, which kind of makes that segment 2 more appealing.
That's what I was going to hit you up for, if that's something you could speak to, or is that?
I don't have approvals from the executive office. We've identified funding sources. We were kind of hoping that we saw community support for that and that we can kind of come up with something. We'll have to work with Nick to identify it because those funds are targeted towards roadway reconstruction, so removal of the slab, some of the widening, the intersection improvements wouldn't be, but I think the combination of the funds. We also don't traditionally mix funding. So that's something we sort of have to work through from a logistics standpoint to make sure that we identify what it's being targeted towards.
Okay.
We also need to work with the community because part of those funds would be in Madison. The original project was in Albany. A little bit of a process, not much of a process, but we know that we just have to kind of step through some of those things. So we do feel that there's a lot more opportunity if we get moving and get moving on the project. We picked a location. Last year there was $31 million in redistribution with the federal program. People were looking for projects at the end of the year. So I think there's an appetite for doing something within the department, a bigger roadway project. If we can use economies of scale and kind of maximize the use of those funds, it's better for everybody.
Great.
So as far as we have some funds identified, but again, I'm hoping that tonight we get concurrence on, yes, we agree with what you did, that's what we see, and then we can move forward with kind of again, called refined analysis. We'll satisfy our federal highway requirements, and hopefully this time next year, we'd be sitting well for a public hearing. It will require right-of-way or easements, or, you know, at a minimum, construction easements to be able to put everything together, so, it takes us about a year to get to that. You know, once we have identified a concept, we gotta work through governor council and book the meeting, so it sets us up well to use the funds as they're currently targeted in fiscal year 28, or it's basically construction season 29.
So we're still a ways out.
We're still a ways out. I'll walk through that later. We've got about a year of the public hearing process. That's the state statute to acquire right of way or easement. We have, depending on the length of the project, there's a number of property owners. It's about 18 months to 36 months, depending on the number of parcels, to go through, get the right of way plans complete, and then, you know, work through the acquisition and appraisal process. We did bring Dina Ray today. She is our chief of right-of-way acquisition, so just in case there's people that are really curious about, you know, how we manage that right-of-way process and acquiring rights, she's here to speak to that. And then we need NEPA clearances in order to actually purchase anything. We need federal highway approval to spend the funds for final design, acquire right-of-way, and then obligate the funds for construction.
You guys have any questions? We can ask them in there too, so everyone can hear it.
Yeah, no rumble strips.
So we have a couple different solutions out there, right? So rumble strips are a holistic approach. We brought our safety section. One of the improvements for segment 2 that we've identified is left turn lanes or a two-way left turn lane. Both are widening, essentially the same thing. You know, with the widening and use of a two-way left turn lane, rumble strips kind of go away in that scenario, which is really appealing. And could be a sell for that alternative. And you'll see, we looked at, there are a number of issues. There's deterring traffic and turning off and on 16 that we heard, that we see with crash data, with the speed. And we also have widening for the shoulders and just kind of general clear zone and widen that to make it safer for the roadway. So we believe the two-way left turn lane could be a character change. We can't change speed limits, and Corey's here to speak to that later, just by changing the speed limit, and hopefully we can articulate that well.
I don't think speed limits will do anything for the problems. I think turning lanes would be very beneficial.
Turning lanes will target the rear end crashes and, you know, any of the right angle or the left turn conflicts that we're seeing, and that we talked about.
Right. Just out of topic, but, and I spoke to you before about this, but jake brake noise, you don't regulate that as far as signage or not allowing it. We're getting a lot of it. There's a lot of big trucks coming through, especially, and I've heard not just myself but other people that say 3, 4 in the morning when these trucks are coming through, they're just hammering them. So as a town, can we introduce our own ordinance, like a noise ordinance, or can, Mark, maybe you know more about that? I mean, how can we, if you don't, because I guess the explanation I kind of understood was you can't stop the jake brake noise because there's other cars that are just as loud. So you'd be targeting one.
Well, it's more for safety. The jake brake is attributed to the safety of the truck. We don't regulate that. I should have probably read up on that. I didn't. Should have seen that question coming. Yeah, that's a town-wide ordinance that would need to be implemented, and then work with traffic, Bureau of Traffic, for location of the signs.
But that's the way to move forward with that. We can,
Yeah,
as a town, we can do that.
Put town signs within the right of way. There'll be some type of agreement that you work with, but
Okay.
that's something that you can regulate within the community.
But someone will have to pay to enforce it.
That is true. Department of Transportation doesn't do the enforcement.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like speeding and anything else.
But we wouldn't put the signs up. That would be
It'd be the
something
town.
on the town, and then you can work with
Yeah.
Bureau of Traffic and in District 3 to put signs as,
Okay.
The problem with that is that
warranted.
when it's so annoying between midnight and 5 in the morning, that's exactly when we don't have coverage.
But like I said, these truckers don't wanna get stopped, they don't want a ticket, they don't want, I think
True.
they're doing it because they can. If they thought they couldn't, I don't know that it's not that necessary.
Well, with truckers, if you catch a bunch of them and fine them, well,
The word
word will
will
get
get out.
around.
And they're typically in a hurry, they're not trying to slow down, so just slow down, you don't need to Jake, but that's where I was going with that, so that's good information.
I can provide more information too, right, from Bureau of Traffic
Okay,
as you get into it, or
Sure.
we can connect you with the chief engineer.
okay, great. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen here, cause I don't hear the door swinging open, I don't see people.
Yeah,
Did
we,
notice-
we have time.
Did notices go out?
Great question.
'Cause
talked
I
to
never
Kelly
got one.
today, and we put together postcards. We use the Postal Service and the Every Door Direct Mail, very similar to what you might see for some of the other ads. I spoke with the postmasters for both Conway Village and Madison because there are Albany residents off the Madison routes, and I was told when we dropped it off on the 24th of May that they went out that weekend, Memorial Day weekend. I will take this one as well. I'm striking out when it comes to mailers in general and letters.
Madison said they got them, but nobody I spoke to
Albany.
in Albany has got
Yeah.
one.
I got it,
Oh, you did?
Did you get one?
I got
Okay.
one.
So nobody I've spoken to that lives on 16 has gotten it.
And I didn't ask a specific question, if it was a traffic and a safety concern by the rural route carrier. I didn't ask that question. I sort of wanted to.
Well, they deliver our mail to our box, so why would they deliver the flyer?
Yeah,
I can't speak to that, unfortunately.
So
We did
this
make an
public
attempt.
hearing you have next year this is the official public hearing, right?
Tonight
Next
is
year.
not so next year, when
Next
we go to a
So next
state-
year, this has to be solved, because our residents need to know.
Yeah.
And they have to get a chance to come in here and express themselves. So we gotta make sure we figure out this mailer notification
Well,
issue.
What time of the year is that meeting that's mandatory have to take place?
Typically, we do them between January and beginning of June. It's not well received.
Cause we
to do
could
one in
put a, we
July.
could put a notice in with the tax bills that go out.
we did very well
If the meeting is.
for the
If-
last
if it-
meeting, we did, that's.
No, I know,
We did very well, so.
and a good turnout,
Mhm.
but people were notified too.
Mhm.
Well, we'll go.
And this is a step in the process tonight. It doesn't mean, residents through you can't communicate to me, or, we're gonna post the information on the website after we have the meeting tonight. My contact information is there. They're welcome to make sure that their voice is heard. Tonight isn't, the last step for us. We would want to do one more meeting of really what the actual impacts are of the selected location. Tonight's purpose is we listened to you, we identified what the needs, we dove a little bit deeper into the traffic and the safety. We came up with some solutions that we think fit with the desires of the community. We looked at the gamut, from how to reduce speeds to making it safe to turn off of 16. So we've got a number of different solutions, and then what we need to do from there is if people agree with our thought that let's target segment 2 with this construction money, then we need to come back through and really refine the slope lines. A couple things, we do have roadway widening, so we would have to identify locations where we could collect and treat stormwater. So there's a few different impacts that aren't shown in these plans that we need to resolve and identify and work through the town. So we would do another meeting similar to this, probably more direct, and we'll make sure that directed impacted abutters would be communicated with a letter, and then we can post it if we need to do 60 days to make sure that we have enough notification period. Happy to take that on, but
Okay.
I think I can do a mail merge and send that to your office from the
that would be fantastic.
assessing software,
Mhm.
cause cause I have both the physical address and the mailing address, and I'm sure Avatar, I haven't done it in a long time, but I'm sure Avatar can walk me through doing a mail merge, and I'd much rather do that and get that to you than have people that are really interested not know.
We've had a lot of success with that. I'll be honest, the first time we came here, I was a newer PM and I was using some software that I had learned after the meeting that doesn't get updated on an annual basis. And we've had much greater success with communities to go directly with the assessor database that they've had, and especially for the mandatory meetings.
Our addresses get updated weekly, so, they're a week behind probably, or maybe 2 weeks behind, but no more than that. And if it's right by when tax bills go out, they're updated daily, cause we're trying to get the best information we can, so.
Okay.
So I do think we need to set up a table for the board, Mr. McConkey,
Yes.
and I do have some handouts for you to take with you. And then, we'll walk through the slides with some handouts for folks that are signing in as well.
Okay, it's all yours.
Great.
Anything you need from us will be there, but
Jason, I'm not going to stay, I'm gonna be in my office working, do you need anything from me?
I think we did all right. I'm hoping that we can project well enough in the room.
You
Do we
got the
need
screen?
We have a screen, we
Okay.
brought it, we ended up probably putting it in the same location as yours, but we moved a couple things around.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, we're in relatively good shape.
put us off to the side somewhere, we don't wanna be in the way, but I want a show of, support. So I have to keep the meeting open?
No.
So I have to reselect them then.
Yes, but you're not doing town business,
I go
unless you
home.
think you're gonna have to take a vote at this meeting.
No,
Are
I'm
they gonna
gonna
be required to
make
take
a
any kind of
motion.
vote?
No.
I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.